Imagine sitting in a waiting area for hours while others are called in and quickly led to their meetings. Then, the moment someone realizes who you are, everything shifts. If Claire Morton had known how that day would unfold, she would have chosen her more comfortable flats. The sleek ones she wore were better for swift meetings and quick getaways, not endless waiting. But there she was, standing under the tall, modern canopy of Greenfield Enterprises in a bustling city center, a proposal securely under her arm, bracing for what she thought would be a career-defining discussion. She had spent weeks preparing for this moment. Mock interviews, researching, writing notes until her hand ached. Claire had anticipated every possible question that Mark Riley, the regional director, might ask. Her nerves weren't exactly calm, but she was determined, laser-focused. As always, she was early, 15 minutes ahead of schedule. She'd been raised to believe punctuality was a virtue. Early is on time. On time is late. Inside the sleek, marble-clad lobby, the scent of fresh cleaning supplies mixed with a faint hint of cologne. A striking metal sculpture twisted near the elevators. Claire approached the front desk, where a young receptionist chewed gum as she typed absent-mindedly. "Hi, I'm Claire Morton. I have a 10 a.m. meeting with Mark Riley," Claire said. The receptionist briefly glanced at her screen, then picked up the phone. After a brief, hushed conversation, she looked back and said, "Mr. Riley will be with you shortly. Please take a seat." Claire offered a polite smile and took a seat by the large windows. She crossed her legs, adjusted her blazer, and placed her folder on her lap. Minutes passed, 5, 10, then 15. At first, Claire wasn't concerned. Meetings ran late all the time. Important people were always busy. She scrolled through her phone, reviewed her notes one last time, and focused on keeping herself calm. "Stay composed. You're here because you deserve this," she repeated in her head. Half an hour passed. Claire stood, adjusted her jacket, and walked to the desk again. "Excuse me," she said with a warm smile. "Just checking if Mr. Riley is still available." The receptionist barely glanced up, flashing a tight smile. "He's finishing up a call. He'll be right with you." Claire nodded and returned to her seat, but this time she sat straighter, a feeling of tension creeping in. Was she being impatient? Was this normal? She observed a couple of men in suits entering the lobby, laughing about a recent golf match. The receptionist immediately jumped up, offering them coffee and ushering them through the doors without hesitation. Claire blinked. Maybe they had appointments too, or maybe not. Either way, a knot tightened in her chest. It wasn't yet anger, but something in her gut told her that something wasn't quite right. She dismissed the thought. "Stay calm," she reminded herself. "Don't be that person." An hour passed. Claire adjusted her jacket again, her fingers nervously pulling at the seams. Time seemed to drag. At 11:15 a.m., Claire's back ached from the hard chair. She shifted her weight, doing her best to hide her discomfort. She wanted to look composed, calm, like a woman in control. Yet, the longer she sat, the more she felt like an invisible fixture in the room. She watched as two more well-dressed men arrived, greeted with handshakes, offered refreshments, and led into meetings with a casual respect she hadn't received. Was she being overlooked? Claire's grip on her folder tightened, and she began to feel a subtle but undeniable frustration. No one had acknowledged her presence for some time. The receptionist didn't even glance her way. It was as if she didn't matter. The air around Claire felt thicker. The room buzzed with low conversations and the distant hum of printers. But to her, it all felt like noise, as if she were suspended in a world where nobody cared. Just as she was about to get up again, a tall woman in a sleek, navy blue suit walked in. Claire immediately recognized her, Rachel Hudson, the vice president of operations. The receptionist practically leapt from her seat at the sight of her, greeting her with exaggerated enthusiasm. "Good morning, Miss Hudson. Can I get you coffee or something?" Rachel waved her off with a polite smile, heading straight for the elevators. Claire's throat tightened as she watched, feeling the sting of being overlooked even more. By 11:30, Claire stood once more and walked to the front desk. "I'm wondering if I should reschedule. It's been quite a wait." Her voice was calm, even but inside, she was beginning to feel something much stronger than just impatience. The receptionist looked up, momentarily startled, as if she had forgotten Claire was even there. "Oh, Mr. Riley is still wrapping up a call. He'll be right with you." Claire nodded curtly and returned to her seat. Her legs crossed tightly, and she could feel her composure beginning to crack. But she refused to give in to the frustration building inside. Not yet. Time continued its slow march. At 11:58 a.m., Claire glanced at her phone again, watching the minutes drag on, 2 full hours gone without any real update. The lobby buzzed around her, the hum of business continuing as though she weren't even there. No one noticed her. Then the doors swung open. A group of sharply dressed professionals walked in, their quiet authority commanding immediate attention. Claire's heart skipped. She recognized 2 of them immediately. Max Carter, CEO of the company, and Helena Dawson, the Senior Director of Finance. People who made decisions. People who mattered. Max noticed Claire from across the room and called her name. "Claire Morton, I didn't realize you were coming in today." For a brief moment, time seemed to stop. Claire stood, adjusting her jacket for one final time, gathering her composure. She walked toward them with deliberate, confident steps, her heels clicking softly but firmly on the marble floor. Max extended his hand, greeting her warmly. "It's good to see you again, Claire. We were just talking about you last week, your talk at the Leadership Summit. Amazing work." Behind them, Mark Riley, the man who had kept her waiting for over 2 hours, stood frozen in the hallway. His face turned bright red, and he hurried over, his apologies spilling out clumsily. "I'm so sorry for the wait. A situation came up. No excuse. I apologize personally." Claire met his flustered apology with a calm response. 2 hours is quite a long time for a situation, Mr. Riley." The awkwardness in the air was palpable. Max and Helena both turned their attention to Claire, and without missing a beat, Helena added, "If you have time, Claire, why don't you come up to the executive conference room with us? We'd love to talk about some exciting projects." Mark stammered again, offering to carry her things or fetch her coffee, but Claire simply aligned herself with Max and Helena, leaving him standing awkwardly behind. As they walked toward the elevators, Claire couldn't resist a small, private smile. She hadn't had to say a word to make her point. Mark Riley had gotten exactly what he deserved. But the real consequence of this day was yet to come. The next week, Claire received an offer, an official invitation to join a leadership initiative. It wasn't just a project. It was a direct path to a senior executive position. She accepted the offer, not out of a need for revenge, but because she had earned it. Every late night, every overlooked email, every silent dismissal. This was the moment when all of it paid off. As Claire's promotion was announced internally, Mark Riley was called into a private meeting. The whispers began almost immediately. People began to notice his arrogance had finally caught up to him. By the end of the week, his nameplate was gone from the office door. Claire didn't celebrate. She didn't gloat. She simply moved forward, as she always had, with quiet determination. At her first big meeting as the new leader, Claire stood at the head of the table. The department heads, senior managers, and new hires all listened intently as she said, "Great ideas don't care where they come from, and neither should we." It wasn't about that one moment anymore. It was about changing the way things were done. And for every woman coming up behind her, Claire made sure they wouldn't have to wait so long to be seen. Sometimes, others won't see your value until it's recognized by the right people. But that doesn't mean it was never there. Hold your ground, stay ready. Your moment will come. And when it does, walk into it unapologetically,